Hi and welcome to the SohoLIFF Spotlights. I'm Liz Farah-Hardy and I'm really excited today because I am joined with the incredible Jane Perry. Jane, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So Jane is amazing. Jane is an incredible actress and has worked with some just the likes of Paul Thomas Anderson, Mark Foster, just to name a few. Some of the actors that Jane's worked with, people like Brad Pitt, Daniel Day-Lewis, Tom Hanks, Nicole Kidman. I mean, just to name a few. And also, she is an incredible voice actor as well. And probably the most important and prestigious thing, she's also a judge for the SohoLIFF.
That's right. That's a very important job.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming here today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
So, I mean, I'm dying to talk to you about all of this because, I mean, your career is just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So you have even won a Bafta, haven't you? I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, thanks. I won a Bafta. Bafta has just, well, not just, but for the past, well, I don't know, actually 20 years, they've been honoring games, video games, alongside, obviously film and TV. And they started giving awards for games, I think, well, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, something like that, for acting in games. And it's so wonderful to have that storytelling medium honored by such a prestigious organization. So I felt very pleased, obviously, to win a Bafta. It was a real highlight of my career, and it's given me a lot of real positive energy, especially at this particular time where there's so many filmmakers interested in games and vice versa. So there's this really lovely merging of these different mediums of the screen arts that's happening right now, and it's really wonderful to be a part of that and to see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, like games have become massive, haven't they? They really have. And there's even, I mean, because there's a real narrative in them. Yeah. And there's been movies have been made out of them now as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're seeing that more and more. And I think for somebody like me coming from, like, my background is really theater. That's where I started and spent my formative years. And then when I moved to the UK, I started doing more film and television with some of those people that you just mentioned. And then I just sort of transitioned into games. But I think coming from this hinterland of being, trained actors like we are and working in the industry for a long time, when you get into games, you realize, oh, this is pretty good. There's some great stories being told here, and really amazing ways in which they can be told, because the tech is so interesting and dynamic.
So technically, how different is it working in a game as to when you're working on a traditional set or stage?
Yeah, well, it's the process is quite different. It depends if you're doing just voice in a game or if you're doing performance capture, which is like, if for people who don't know what performance capture is, it's when they're literally capturing your whole performance. So that's your voice, your face, and your movements. So if you're just doing voice, the big difference is you don't get your script until the day before. So you don't have an opportunity to plan anything. So you have to do your homework in advance, which usually is just about being in a real state of readiness, harvesting as much information about the character and the genre of the game and, the story as well beforehand, so you can go in and just let it flow. Whereas performance capture is much more like it's kind of like a cross between being on a film set and a theatrical rehearsal, because you don't have all the bits and pieces that you need, but you are in a stage which is called a volume in video games, and you're acting with your fellow performers and just doing everything that you would do in a theater rehearsal.
Oh, wow. So I hadn't thought of it like that before.
Yeah.
So if you're doing just voice, and you're just suddenly getting the script.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for that?
Well, you can't really. So I always say to people, your preparation is to be ready, warmed up, ready to go with that state of like, again, it's a state of readiness. It's that sort of space that we occupy, I think, a lot in improv for example, you give me something, I just take it, accept it, and I give it right back to you, and it creates that sort of thing. So there's that impulse that is that we really lean on in voice acting. But of course, that impulse is really familiar to actors in film and TV, and of course the theater. It is always there. It's just in theater, we maybe have a little, well, quite a bit longer to, work with that impulse, and maybe we can refine it and change it. Film and TV, we have a bit more time, maybe not as much. And then in games, you just got to go with it.
Right. And you did a lot of animation as well, didn't you? What's that like?
I've done a little bit of animation. It was a long, long time ago. Although I did do an animated film recently. It's quite similar. I mean, animation it depends on the character you're playing, but it can be super fun. I mean, it's just pure play. I love it. I just love it so much. And animation can be, with an ensemble cast, whereas just doing straight voice work, it's usually just you in the booth by yourself with your performance director and the client and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Oh, and how do you come up with the different voices?
I don't really know. I look at the image of the character. Because obviously what somebody looks like is their kind of biography. It's, if they have a kind of shy, closed off body, then that is going to really inform the voice. And if they're really proud and standing tall, maybe they have a big weapon or gear or something, then that, changes how we communicate in the world. And I think it is building character in sort of the same way, but we're just approaching it differently. Like so many actors talk about, I really feel like the character as soon as I put the shoes on. And then when you get the costume on, it's like this. It's like you cross the threshold with that costume into your character's world. And so in games, we're doing the same thing, but we're really just looking at the image of the character. And I will actually take on their physicality. And that, then you listen to your body. It starts to really inform, who that person is.
And can I ask, what's your preparation?
Let's see. Well, it depends again what it is. If it's performance capture, you have to know your lines, you have to make choices. So I will prepare rather, in the same way I would for a theater role, or really maybe more a film role where you got to know your stuff when you get on set. There can be a little bit of rehearsal, but it's not much. So you learn your lines, you make some strong choices in advance, and then I also make sure that I'm warmed up and like that my ego's sort of over there, so that if the director says, not sure about that, I can go, yeah, great. I'll switch to whatever you need to get from me in order to tell the story properly. So there's a real agility. So preparation is about always making sure, am I agile? Am I mercurial in what I'm doing here? I've made some strong choices, but I'm also really ready to let them go. And again, this is something else that we all have to do, no matter what medium we're working in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And with the directors, is it working with a director, say on a game, is that very similar to working on a set like on TV or film, or is that quite different?
It is quite different, because in games there's a lot more. You have the game director, and then you've got a performance director, which is the performance director would be like the director of a play or the director of the TV series or whatever. So your performance director is really giving you information and feedback about your performance. But there's a lot more. Well, there's not a lot more people on set, but there's people on set who have, different roles because they're working on a game, which is a very different medium.
Yeah.
But I notice the best directors in games come from a theater, film, and TV background because they know about acting and they know how to marry the art of acting with the art of filmmaking and fitting in our performances into the technical structure that is called for. And they're a real pleasure to work with.
It leads me to my next question. I was going to ask you, when you're working with a director, do you like a director that gives you that freedom to make your choices, or someone who really, gives very strong direction?
I like both. I like strong direction. I mean, I love collaborating. Collaborating. That's such a wonderful thing, I think, for an actor is, if you're my director and you say, well, that was great, but try this, that ignites creativity in me. And then, and I think sometimes we can feel that in the room when, the character, the play, or the story, it kind of achieves liftoff and it develops a little spirit of its own. And that moment is super exciting. And I really believe that comes from collaboration and really connecting with your fellow performers or your other creatives, directors, or writers, or what have you.
Well, it is. It's all a collaborative thing, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's very exciting.
But I'll tell you what's really exciting. Like for me, it has been such a wonderful thing to watch the films, and to be a part of the jury for LIFF. It's just, there's such great work there. And what I love so much about it is, again, we're talking about the creative spirit, and I know that you are providing a platform for people who maybe don't get their work seen that often for various reasons. It could be budget, it could be where they're at in their career, it could be, maybe a question of diversity and not having had the opportunities for their stories to really be seen and heard. And I'm always so delighted by the huge range of things that we get exposed to. And the other thing that's so interesting to me, like games can take 60 hours to play. But a short film...
60 hours?
60 hours, yeah.
Oh my God.
But correct me if I'm wrong, a good short film, a good length is about 20 minutes.
Yeah, even 10 minutes is great. Yeah, if you can tell a complete story in that.
Yeah, and I just realized that is a huge skill. I mean, that is a real art to have a really engaging beginning, middle, and end in 10 minutes. And I really love watching those films and just trying to look at it and think, why did that work so well? I mean, that you've just packed in so much information with obviously the text, but the filmmaking, the images, everything in such a short period of time. And I find that so fascinating. And I just think that it's, it's a genre of filmmaking that is highly skilled.
It is. I mean, the arts are just so important, aren't they? Have you ever done a short film?
I've done a few.
Have you?
Yeah, over the years. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I guess like independent film is just so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you choose projects?
Well, usually I'm just like, I got an audition. I booked it. Okay, great. Like probably most jobbing actors. There's a couple that I have declined, not at the stage of offer, but declined to audition for because I just didn't like the character. There was things going on that I was like, nah, I don't want to say those words. But generally, I feel quite lucky the things that come my way are things that I am excited about and happy to do.
So it's having a good agent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they get working out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. How do you choose them? I mean, you're making a lot of your own content too.
But that's what made me make content was because there was a lot of roles that I just felt weren't actually saying, the things that needed to be said. I mean, actually, that brings me to something I wanted to ask you because, like, games has become now so much more popular with women as well, hasn't it?
Yes.
Are the roles in games, are they balancing up? Is there, the same sort of amount of roles for women, or is it still very male dominated?
It's still very male dominated, as I rather feel everything is. I mean, certainly film, TV. I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge how far we've come, and there are great roles for women in all those mediums. But I do feel that it's still kind of like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the great roles are written for men and therefore played by men, and 20% are written for women. And there are, I've had the pleasure of playing some amazing women in games, but I think the majority of the stories are still very male dominated, and probably the majority of game makers are, male dominated too. And it's interesting to me how slow change is. But I remember on what has now become X, I came across a post of this supposed game developer. I'm not sure he was, but he was running a very scientific questionnaire on whether or not women should be banned from making games.
What?
And women and woke people. And of course, immediately I was like, excuse my language. And I stupidly responded. And because I was like, really? There's actually men out there posting a questionnaire wanting feedback from his
Were
following.
people responding to the post?
Yeah. And people were saying, yeah, I think they should be banned, or,
What?
really rude, horrible things about women in games. And I just thought, well, these people who are responding and saying, yes, women should be banned from making games, there's probably going to be quite a few games that they will not be able to play if that is really their value, because women are part of game development. We are there in a very
Winning BAFTAs for it.
That's right. And game developers, they might be male dominated, but there are some very key roles played by women. And so I think it's just a question of sort of, waiting. Well, not waiting, but pushing this idea that women, what's the difference?
Yeah.
The difference is that women have perhaps different stories to tell and slightly different ways of telling them, as is the case with people from what we call a diverse background, underrepresented, let's say. That's the difference. We get to hear different stories. Otherwise, we're all the same in terms of our ability and our skill base. There's no difference there. It's just our point of view is different, and I'm really interested in different points of view, and I'm definitely not anti-male at all, but it's just there's a space here that I think we can all occupy.
Absolutely.
And I want to see more of that because I'm interested in story.
Yeah, and there's more women in the world than there is men.
Yeah.
And they're playing more and more games,
Yeah.
so it just makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, it's like, so game people out there, it makes sense. We want more female roles, please.
Yes.
Just let them know.
Hint, hint.
On a sort of a different thing as well, you've also done audiobooks, haven't you?
Yes, I have, yeah.
I'm really curious about that, okay, because I love audiobooks. Do you read the book first of all and then work out, oh, you do?
You have to, because I'll never forget an actor. Before I got into audiobooks, I was just asking him because he's read so many, and I think he got to the point where he got a little bit laissez-faire about it, and he read an audiobook all the way through, and he got to the final chapter, and he realized that his character had a German accent.
No!
So I had to go all the way back and redo it, and that really stuck with me. But of course, yes, you have to read it so you can make choices, and you have to find a way to differentiate one character from another, and that takes a little bit of thought. And I think also, just getting a sense of the book is super important. So I'm a very slow reader, so I don't do many because it takes me a long, long time. But, I do like to do it occasionally because it's a really lovely thing to do.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And you do all the different voices and everything, and all the different characters.
Yeah, I'm not great with, having a huge array of different voices. So I'll make subtle changes, like this one has a faster pace when they're speaking, and this one is a little bit higher pitch. That one's a bit lower. But, some people have an amazing array and accessibility to completely different voices and characters, and I'm not one of those actors. Yeah.
I think you're pretty good though, aren't you?
I do my best.
Yeah. And with like documentaries, when they have the voiceovers with that,
Yeah.
What would your advice be to directors when they're looking to cast a voice actor for that?
I think you want to match the voice with the content of the documentary. So when I do documentaries, it tends to be like I did one about the queens of ancient Egypt, and I did one about I think it was Notre Dame, and they I think because of the fire they found these tombs that weren't accessible before.
Oh, wow.
So I tend to do documentaries that maybe have a bit more of a scientific background or something quite serious because I have a lot of gravitas to my voice. Whereas somebody who maybe has a younger voice would be great to do a documentary on surfing or I don't know, like something that's, effervescent and bubbly. If the content is like that, you want a voice that's like that. And then directing it is just a matter of, as is always the case with any acting, being, specific, making sure that we understand what's the specific and most important aspect of this little chunk of text here. Let's hit that note.
And I mean, you're so versatile. You just have done so many different things, and everything you've done brilliantly. Is that a choice? Are you like that, you like doing different stuff, or would you like to go, right, I'm just going to focus on one thing?
No, I like doing different stuff. And I think we live in an era now where we sort of have to. I mean, you're such a great example of that, because you're an actress, you're a content creator, you're running a film festival, you're doing all kinds of things. And I think that is what we have to do now. I don't think we can just say, well, I'm just a film actor. There probably was a time when we could, or I just do theater, but I think those days are gone. And it's interesting to do it all.
Although I would like it to go back to sort of the Renaissance days where the super rich paid the artists to just be artistic. I think that would be quite nice.
We can make that happen. Another hint. Anybody's watching. Hint. Yeah.
So, going on to the festival, because you are like our wonderful, one of our wonderful judges on the SohoLIFF. When you're judging a film, what do you look for?
The first thing I look for, I usually watch them a couple of times, and the first thing I look for is, am I lost in this story? Because I think when we just realize, oh, where was I? 10 minutes have gone by and I've just been engaged in the story. I think that's a sign that this is successful storytelling, successful acting. It's when I get a little hooked by something, like, right, what was that? Or it's those hooks that make me feel like it's not as seamless as it needs to be. So I think I'm looking for that feeling of just getting swept up in it. And then because I am an actor, I probably will notice the acting first. And
that's the thing when you're an actor, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's that. And then probably the quality of the writing will come hot on the heels of the acting. And then finally, it's, because it's cinema, is how beautiful it doesn't have to be beautiful, but the photography, the cinematography of it is that helping to tell the story? Is that really supporting everything that's going on in this particular film? So yeah, those are the things I look for.
That's good. And you talked about the script. What's your, what would you judge a good script as?
Well, again, it's that for the short film, it's the script that is economical but still rich, and that can tell that story in such sort of short period of time, and that resonates and makes sense. Some short films, I feel like they're a calling card for the feature film.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily have an ending that resolves things. And
they still need that beginning, middle and end though, don't they?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, those ones where you're left like going, I don't understand what happened.
That's right.
It's a lot of that on TV though. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that's true too. That's right, yeah.
And festivals, how important are festivals to you?
Well, I think they're really important because they're a way of sharing all of the work that we do. And I think there's obviously filmmaking is a business, and some filmmakers, production companies, whatever, have more money than others, and of course, selling your film and publicizing your film is an expensive endeavor. So for people who don't have that budget, festivals provide a place for their work to be seen, which is very important because that's why we do it, so it can be seen.
Yeah, you want an audience for your film.
Yeah,
it's important.
It is. And as I say in the theater, your first dress rehearsal, opening night, the audience becomes another character, and that informs and instructs you as to how is it working, and we get a lot of information from our audiences, so they are really important.
Oh God, yeah, it's very different when you're sort of showing it to your mum, isn't it?
Oh, I think that's lovely, darling. Want a cup of tea now? I don't really get it, but
I just heard it's brilliant.
Yeah. That's right.
And I was just wondering, for people watching, because there's always this kind of how does judging work? Are you able to explain the judging process?
Well, for your festival in particular, you send us this amazing spreadsheet that has everything on it. And there's also the platform where we can watch the films. And essentially it's like a score, basically, 1 out of 10 in terms of, how we rate the actor in the film or the actress or whatever. And then there's a little area to write our thoughts and feelings about it. And then eventually at some point we all meet and have a good old chat about it, which is also really interesting because there's moments where I've been like, I love that film. And everybody else is like, eh. And you just think, oh, well, clearly there's something wrong with me. But no, it's just we have different ideas and different thoughts on things. And I think that's really interesting to have these conversations too, and to have an actual jury that brings in different experiences that can weigh in and say, well, I like this film for this reason, or I didn't like that film, for whatever reason. So they are good conversations.
They are great conversations, aren't they? I mean, it continually, every single year, my mind is blown at how, you'll have half the people going, that's the best film ever, it's incredible. The other one, I hated that, that was all. And it just goes to show, as a filmmaker, it's, if you don't get into a festival or it doesn't do what you want to do, it's not because it's a bad film. It's just, it's, what resonates with different people.
That's
and,
right.
What one person loves, someone else might not.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's why it's nice, though, to have quite a few people judging them, because then I think it's much fairer.
I agree. And people from different backgrounds, too.
Yes.
That's important as well.
Yeah.
When I say different backgrounds, I mean different aspects of the filmmaking community.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's, we've got a strong knowledge then for each bit.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for doing it, because
It's
you're a
my
wonderful
pleasure.
judge. And I always love it when we all sit round and everyone gives all their opinions and their bits and pieces. It does get heated sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Super, super interesting. Yeah. It's a real pleasure to do it.
Oh, Jane, thank you so much for coming in today. It's just been lovely. I could sit here and chat to you all day. And congratulations on your Oscar and all your work. On your Oscar.
It's coming. I'll take that as a sign.
Yeah.
Sign from the universe.
That is a sign from the universe.
All right.
Yeah, I use
Aces.
the name.
Huh?
Yeah,
Good.
we'll go with that. Congratulations on the Bafta, I should say.
Yeah, thank you.
And all your amazing work, because honestly, you're such an inspiration.
Oh, thank you so much, Liz.
So thank you very, very much for watching. And yeah, keep an eye on this lady. She's amazing. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.